Okay? Now, the samba pattern basically starts with the feet. You'll go back and forth between your kick drum and hi-hat like this. Okay? Now, up to tempo, it would sound like this. All right? Now, with the right hand, let's come over here to the bell of the right cymbal and play a pattern like this. Now, with the left hand, let's do a pattern between the snare and the toms. Now, when putting all those elements together, you have a samba pattern. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of call for a samba pattern if you're a rock player, okay? So, what I try to do is take certain elements from the samba pattern and incorporate them in a basic like hard rock or rock and roll context, all right? Here's an example. Let's say we have a regular hard slamming groove like this. All right. Now, instead of just doing like the eighth notes on the hi-hat, let's come over here to the right cymbal and play like a Latin sounding part. Okay, so starting with the hi-hat, I'll demonstrate a couple bars and then we'll go over there and you can notice that the snare drum is still slamming, but now we got the right hand over on the right cymbal to give it kind of a Latin flavor. Check it out. Okay, now let's further metamorphosize this whole idea by incorporating one of the Latin sounding right hand parts with one of our earlier ostinato parts. Okay, let's use one of our upbeat eighth note ostinatos on the hi-hat. So let's have a groove like this. Now, with the right hand, let's play a Latin part on the cowbell, something like this. Now, obviously, in order to play all those parts simultaneously, you have to play your ostinato hi-hat part with your left hand. So you'll just simply travel back and forth between your hi-hat and your snare, and that will leave your right hand open to play the cowbell. Okay, and it would sound like this. Okay, now I'd like to play one more pattern for you that pretty much takes this whole four-way independence thing to an extreme. This is something called the monster pattern, and I just want to demonstrate it because I think that it's important to have almost an overabundance of technique than not enough. So let's get started by introducing a new hi-hat technique. This is something called the toe-heel splash technique. Now, if you want this kind of sound, but your hands are tied up doing something else, you can achieve the same basic effect by having your heel literally splash the cymbals together and then have your toe close them. So it sounds like this. So that kind of frees things up. So the way we'll start this pattern is we'll have that cooking on the downbeat, like 3, 4. And on the cowbell, we'll have an upbeat rhythm. So it'll be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and back and forth. So it'll sound like this. Now on the snare drum, let's have a spacious yet syncopated rhythm, all right? How about something like this? All right, now on the kick drum, let's have a bit more of a busy pattern. All right, now let's combine all four of those elements together. All right, now let's incorporate a Latin timbale part over here, something with the left hand that would sound like this. All right, so once again we're faced with the problem of having both hands tied up between the snare and the cowbell. So we're not really able to play the timbale part right now. So what you got to do is have your right hand go back and forth between the snare and the cowbell, and that will free up your left hand to play the timbale part. All right, check it out. Now, in addition to using this four-way independence concept for like timekeeping applications, there's some pretty cool solo ideas you can get together using it as well. For example, let's say you had your left foot doing a toe-heel splash technique on the hi-hat. You could have your right hand on the right cymbal doing like a one-beat ostinato. Your right foot could be performing like a samba pattern on the bass drum. Then that would leave your left hand open to improvise. Okay, now I don't want to bore you to tears with a lot of talk and demonstration about the rudiments, because I know that we've all been spoon-fed, or maybe I should say force-fed, the rudiments since we started playing, right? But I will say two things. Number one, almost anything that you play here on the drum set is some sort of a derivative from some kind of rudiment. So I think that in general, the more polished up you are on the rudiments, I think the tighter your overall drum sound will be. And the second point I'd like to make is that there's a lot of pretty cool ways to incorporate some of the different rudiments into like a timekeeping groove situation. Let me give you an example. Let's start with the old single stroke roll, which in our case here will just be 16th notes with the right, left, right, left, right, left sticking. Okay, now by placing both the hands on the hi-hat and doing the single stroke, and then on beats 2 and 4, traveling across to the snare, we have a nice little foundation for a different kind of a pattern. Let's add the kick drum on beats 1 and 3, and we'll have this. All right, now so you can see with just a couple slight little embellishments, maybe a few open and closed hi-hats and a slightly different kick pattern while maintaining the same flow between the hi-hat and snare, this gives us a whole nother concept for keeping time. Okay, let's talk about paradiddles now. All right, now paradiddles are still the same 16th notes, but it's a slightly different sticking. Here we'll have right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Okay, so up to speed in 16th notes. Now, a good method of getting some different beats happening with the paradiddle is just to put each hand on a different sound source. So let's leave the left hand on the snare and put the right hand up on the hi-hat. Okay, let's involve an accent on beat number 2 since we want to emphasize that strong beat there. And then let's just choose a real simple kick drum pattern to go with that. So up to tempo, that would be. Okay, now let's use a similar process involving 3 sound sources. This time, our sticking will involve a combination of the double stroke and the paradiddle. So once again, picture a bar of 16th notes. You're going to have right, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, and then the same thing on the other hand. Left, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So you'd have this slowly. Okay, up to tempo, we have this. Now let's involve our other sound sources. Let's put the right hand on the cowbell and the left hand on the hi-hat. Still the same sticking. Now on beats 2 and 4, let's go ahead and I guess on beat number 2 would be a right hand. And then on beat number 4 we'd have our left hand. So together it would sound like this. All right, again, it's just add a simple kick drum pattern of and you have this. So slightly faster, that would sound like this.